Okay, well, here is the final meditation that we're going to be focusing on, and this Daniel serves Darius. This is the third king that he has been supporting, and so he's been through a lot of ups and downs, and so this is something that he has now been quite familiar with, and we can be now thinking about what goes on in this situation. Now, it seemed good to Darius to appoint 120 seraphs over the kingdom and that they would be in charge of the whole kingdom. And over them, three commissioners, of whom Daniel was one of them. So he's one of the top three to start out with. That these seraphs might be accountable to them and that the king might not suffer loss. Then this Daniel began distinguishing himself among the commissioners and seraphs because he possessed an extraordinary spirit, and the king planned to appoint him over the entire kingdom. Uh-oh, these other people don't like that. Then the commissioners and the seraphs began trying to find a ground of accusation against Daniel in regards to government affairs, but they could not find grounds of accusation or evidence or of corruption, inasmuch as he was faithful and no negligence or corruption was to be found in him. These men said to him, "We do not find any grounds of accusation against this Daniel unless we find it against him with regards to the law of his God." So they saw that faithfulness, he was demonstrating his character, and that was what they leaned on. Then these commissioners and seraphs came by agreement to the king and spoke to him as follows: "King Darius, live forever. All the commissioners of the kingdom, the prefects and the seraphs and the high officials and governors have consulted together that the king should establish a statute and enforce an injunction that anyone who makes a petition to any god or man besides you, O king, for 30 days shall be cast into the lion's den. Now, O king, establish the injunction and sign the document so that it may not be changed according to the laws of the Medes and the Persians, which may not be revoked." Therefore, King Darius signs a document that is the injunction. And what does Daniel do? We're familiar with this. Daniel prayed. He did exactly what he did every day, multiple times a day. He was faithful in his commitment to the Lord. It's just something wonderful for us to not lose sight of. Now, when Daniel knew that the document was signed, he entered his house. Now, in his roof chamber, he had windows open towards Jerusalem, and he continued kneeling on his knees 3 times a day, praying and giving thanks to God, as what he had done previously. Then these men came by agreement and found Daniel making petition and supplication before his God. Then they approached and spoke before the king about the king's injunction. "Did you not sign an injunction that any man who makes a petition to any god or man besides you, O God, for 30 days is to be cast into the lion's den?" The king replied, "The statement is true according to the laws of the Medes and the Persians, which may not be revoked." Then they answered and spoke before the king. "Daniel, who is one of the exiles from Jerusalem, pays no attention to you, O king, or to the injunctions which you sign, but keeps making his petitions 3 times a day." And we know what's going to happen here, and let's just focus on a few summary charts that go over this. Then the king gave orders, and Daniel was brought in and cast into the lion's den. The king spoke and said to Daniel, "Your God, whom you constantly serve, will himself deliver you." A stone was brought and laid over the mouth of the den, and the king sealed it with his own signet ring and with the signet rings of his nobles, so that nothing could be changed in regard to Daniel. So Darius already knows. He sees the faith in Daniel, and he's starting to begin to have some recognition of that. And he knows, he says that your God will deliver you. Then the king went off to the palace and spent the night fasting, and no entertainment was brought before him, and his sleep fled from him. And then finally, then the king rose at dawn at the break of day and went in haste to the lion's den. When he had come near to the den, to Daniel, cried out with a troubled voice. The king spoke and said to Daniel, "Daniel, servant of the living God." Wonderful way that he's now getting some insight through Daniel to be introduced to who this God is. Has your God, whom you have constantly served, been able to deliver you from the lions? Then Daniel spoke to the king, O king, live forever. My God sent his angel and shut the lion's mouth, and they have not harmed me, inasmuch as I have found innocent before him, and also towards you, O king, I have committed no crime. Then the king was very pleased and gave orders for Daniel to be taken out of the den. So Daniel was taken out of the den, and no injury, whatever was found because he had trusted in his God. And I don't show the verses that his enemies were thrown into the lion's den, but that's how it finishes up. So let's just have a couple of reflection questions, and feel free to take some time to go over these. Did Daniel remain committed to his faith? What was a key feature in his daily spiritual discipline? How would we respond to the king's edict to only pray to the king? And finally, how did Daniel respond in the lion's den? Okay, well, thank you very much for going over this last vignette for us to be thinking about the life and character of David.